Hi, welcome back to the Jack and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glen.
Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. Today we're talking about Ready to Love, DMV, Potomac, whichever one they want to call it. DMV, Ready to Love is back already, y'all. You only had like a week break.
I have not recuperated from the last season yet.
I know. It seemed like they're getting ready to just throw the last cast out in the pasture, and we got to be ready to talk about this new cast. But we're not that... I don't know. I'm excited about this cast. Ready to talk about this cast, but I'm not ready to get rid of the old cast yet.
Right.
It needed some separation, but nonetheless, there's no separation a week, and they wanted to get it in, so let's get it in.
All right.
Let's start.
So, I'm going to just run through it like this real quick because we didn't get that little intro to the participants. So, we got them as they came in this time. No preview. So, we got Paul. We find out later he calls himself P.O.
Not for parole officer.
Not for parole officer, but post office.
Right.
Because he delivers. And also pretty outstanding. Anyway.
Whatever it works. Because when I hear P.O., like I said, I agree with Tommy.
Everybody thinks parole officer.
Parole officer.
Or probation officer.
Right. You don't want the nickname P.O.? Come on, bruh. Anyway, come on, Paul. Could have came up with better lines than that.
Right. Paul is 48. He's a software analyst, and he gets to the mansion first. Next, we see Dakia.
Right.
She's 39. She's a senior systems engineer. And she gets there second. It's just the two of them for a minute. And she says, I'm coming in on waxed, and I'm ready to go.
That must be the new saying.
To meet some, apparently.
New saying. Everybody want to be vaxxed and waxed.
Apparently. Then we meet Miss Tiffany. Tiffany is 37. She's a mobile education owner. And she's from Emporia, Virginia. Very, very small country town. Now, when she tells you that there is no mall, there's no, like, shopping center per se, like a plaza, she's right. There is Walmart. We are very familiar with Emporia.
Yeah, been through Emporia a couple times. It's country.
Then we meet Wiley. Wiley's the young buck on here. He's 32. He's an athletic director and a musician. Now it makes sense.
Right. He's athletic. He's a musician and an athletic director.
Yes.
And he is the legend. He is the son of the legendary, if you're from DC, you know, go-go band icon, Chuck Brown.
He's the son of Chuck Brown.
Son of Chuck Brown.
Okay. But the one thing he said was he was glad he's named after his grandfather, but he's got his grandfather's middle name.
Right.
And we find out he was a football player at Tech.
Virginia Tech.
I'm assuming football.
Yeah, Virginia Tech. He's a football
player.
Yeah,
he played football at Virginia Tech, and he's there with his NCAA championship ring on.
No, ACC ring.
I'm sorry, ACC.
Yeah, they never won the. they never won the big one.
They ain't won the big one. I'm sorry.
They never won the big one.
You're right.
ACC.
Right. You right about that. I know better.
Yeah.
I hope ain't no Tech fans out there.
Oh, it's the truth. They haven't won the big one.
No, I'm just saying. Like, don't do that to us. We ain't never with that. But anyway, then we see Precious. She's 34. She's an IT consultant. We are also introduced to Fernando, who's 34. He's a risk analyst. And what Fernando says about himself is he calls himself a gentleman.
Yeah.
He believes that chivalry is not dead. And we find out he's from Baltimore.
As she said, Bodymore. I never said that. She said
yeah,
that.
Precious called it Bodymore. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, don't be jabbing my man.
Don't
city.
do that.
Don't jab at my man city. Don't. Nope.
It's if you ain't saying Baltimore, if you from there, you say Baltimore.
Right.
Okay?
Leave it alone.
Baltimore.
That's right. Coppin State.
CSC. And we see Miss Keena.
Right.
Keena is 39. We got a lot of analysts on here. She's a budget analyst. And she kind of peeped Fernando first and was like, oh, okay, what's going on with him? The one thing that Keena said that I was like, she's so funny. She said, I like a man with a flat butt. Because I got enough butt for both of us. And I'm like, he ain't got to have no big bubble butt, but he got to have something. Nobody want no flat nothing.
No.
Man or woman, who want a flat butt?
Nobody want nothing flat. A piece of paper.
Right. Then we're introduced to Demetrius. Tall, dark, and handsome with the beard.
Everybody loved Demetrius.
Everybody was feeling Demetrius.
Everybody's feeling Demetrius.
And he's 42. He's a government contractor.
Right, ex-military man.
Yeah, former military. And his problem was he used to go from woman to woman, but he's ready to settle down now, which I thought was funny that he would say that, considering what he shares a little bit later.
Yeah, what he shares a little bit later.
And so then we're introduced to Miss Sabrina. She's 36, and she's a nonprofit exec.
Yep.
And she says that everybody has a list of what they're looking for, and she literally holds up her phone and she has a list, and it ain't short.
And I was sitting there like, who keeps that on their phone? She does.
I mean, a lot of people don't use paper and pen no more, so they keep their little notes on their phone.
Yeah, but so she take her phone and be like, you know what? Yep, on the list. Nope, on the list.
I hope not.
Yep, on the list. Nope, I can't mess with you.
I hope not.
Yeah, come on.
And
come on, Sabrina. You gotta do better.
Then we meet Laverne, not to be confused with Laverne.
And Shirley.
We were hoping he said Lavert.
No, he said Laverne.
And then I was like, okay, so maybe he don't spell it like I have a cousin that passed away, God rest her soul. Her name was Laverne. I was like, well, maybe he don't spell it like that. Maybe it's Levern. No, it's like Laverne.
Laverne.
Lavergne.
I'm not mad at him. He's smooth.
It's not his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always change it when you get older, but it must be working for him.
It works for him.
Nice looking guy. Tracks quite a few ladies.
Yeah.
But he's 44. And he's a lead tech analyst. But we find out he used to be a bodybuilder.
And he's from Gary, Indiana.
Yes, he's from Gary, Indiana. We're going to get to that too. Who doesn't? Anyway, he's from Gary, Indiana. Then we meet Clifton. Clifton is 44, and he's a project management consultant. And what he says about himself is he's loud and he's fun and he's outgoing. So he kind of needs a woman that can deal with that. Yeah. But from what I can tell, it's in a good kind of way. He gets a lot of ladies too when he walks in. They like big, tall, teddy bear looking 6'4", Barry White voice having somebody.
Shiny beard.
Oh,
voice.
Yeah.
Remind me of Keith Lee from wrestling.
Yeah, they don't know who that is.
Some people might watch wrestling. Keith Lee.
Then we also are introduced to Sabrina. Not Sabrina, Joy. Joy is 41, and she's a professional singer.
Yes.
I want to know what she sings, what genre of music. I'm curious to know. I'm
sure it's neo-soul.
You only say that because she got the faux locks.
She got the faux locks.
I bet you she does it.
Okay.
You might be surprised. She probably sing jazz.
She might.
She probably sing jazz, but she's from Baltimore too. Mm-hmm. And when she and Fernando talk, he talk about he from East Baltimore. And she was like, and what about it? I'm thinking maybe she's from West Baltimore.
That's right.
Because I only ever heard East and West Baltimoreans talk like that.
They complain about that.
Yeah.
We know people that grew up and went to the east side, lived on the east side, never went to the west.
Felt like traitors.
When
you go from one side to the other side. But anyway, let's see. And then we also meet Ace. Mm-hmm. Ace is 37, and she's they have her listed as a philanthropist.
She like to give out money, y'all.
Help
other people.
And so, as everybody's mingling and everything, Tommy comes in and he lets them know, we want to focus on quality versus quantity.
Yes.
So where we would normally start with 20 singles, 10 men and 10 women, mm-hmm. we're only starting with 7.
Yeah.
We're starting with 7, but at the end of this mingling, one of each is going to be eliminated.
One of each has got to be eliminated. That man, one man has to go. One woman has to go. There's somebody going home, and we get down to 6.
Mm-hmm. Just that fast.
I look, before we get it, I like the 7. I do. I like the 7. Not necessarily the 10. 7 to me is fine because you get to know everybody. You get to know everybody's name, and it not take you that long to have that personality or find out their personality. And also, if you're a contestant, it's less that you have to do. Mm-hmm. In my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we see everybody kind of kicking it off. Demetrius and Precious talk. He talks about his hobbies, how he's an outdoorsy person, and you know, he was like, you know, would you like you participate in stuff like that with me? And she was like, yeah, if you're gonna participate in my pole dancing class with me. He was like, oh, okay. Well, sure, yeah, I can do that. She was like, oh, okay, that's what's up.
Look, not mad at bro. Go ahead and go to the pole. Brothers, go to the pole dancing class with your wife. Go ahead and go. Or your girl.
We see, like I said, Joy and Fernando talking. And Joy makes the comment that the way Fernando's dressed, you know, in the suit, you either, and she says later to Tommy, when you come dressed in the suit, you either come, you know, ready to kill it, or you going for an interview. And she felt like he was on the interview side.
Like he was on the interview.
Even when she was talking, she was like, is this an interview process? Like, just the way he was asking questions, it was like, okay.
Yeah, he didn't come with, you know, and we've seen this. If you watch Ready to Love, you've seen people who just ask question after question after question after question, and it's just become interview style. Not making it natural or organic, where they just conversing and having conversation.
We see Wiley and Keena have a conversation. She asks his age. You know, he's like, I'm 32, and you know, it's like, that's kind of young for me. But Wiley says he prefers an older woman, and she was like, well, he's not really for her, a little bit too young. Right. And then we see that Wiley's like, you know, she's kind of blunt and outspoken, you know, not really getting any good vibes, you know, between us. Not that he disliked her, it just wasn't really a vibe.
He didn't get that spark or that vibe. The conversation wasn't that great.
Yeah, Sabrina and Demetrius are chatting, and you know, she notices she was like, I like your bling. Oh, is that a topaz? He was like, yeah. She was like, topaz, that's my middle name. So you know, they kind of kicked it on that. And they talked about the fact that, well, they went off to the side and had a little conversation. They talked about whether they had been married before, and he said he was married before.
Said he was married for 3 years.
Yes, and it was a short marriage, but he was like, it wasn't a good feeling, you know, when they broke up or whatever, especially when you know it's your fault. And he said that, you know, I owned it. There was some infidelity. Which goes to what he said before. I'm used to moving from woman to woman. And I was like, well, hey, was you moving from woman to woman in your marriage?
Well, he was. If he said it was apparently some infidelity. But again, he owned it. I think he's grown from that.
And he said he went to counseling
afterwards. So he's grown from that. So again, he may have turned over a new leaf, but she also mentioned that she was married as well. And her thing was, she said she got married really young. Really young. And she said, I didn't really have any idea what I wanted. And, you know, since then she's gone to therapy because she had to resolve the issue that she had because her marriage didn't work out. She's feeling like a failure. So she went to therapy, you know, and she's come to, I'm not a failure because my marriage didn't work out. You know, that's the thing she's been working on. Ace, we see Ace and Paul talking. She's been married and divorced. Paul. Paul has been married and divorced.
No, it was her. She's been married and divorced over 10 years ago, but she was only married 1 to 2 years.
Gotcha.
And he was like, oh, so you didn't really give it a chance, did you? And that did not settle well with her. She was like, my reaction to that was crickets.
Like, because again, she felt like, and what she felt like was that you're being disrespectful.
Or making an assumption.
You don't know. You don't know if I gave it a chance. You don't even know what happened in this marriage. You don't know what he did or what we did or why we. So again, when you're meeting someone, this is my thing. When you're meeting someone, you try not to criticize or put down or demean because you don't know their story yet on this show. So you don't try to do any of that stuff. You try to make sure it runs in a smooth fashion. Right. Yeah. And what she said was, I was young when I was married. So basically, you know, immature. Type of thing. And so while he's talking to her, you know, just kind of like her posturing, whatever, he was like, you know, am I intimidating you? You know, like, I'm not trying to, you come off hard at you or whatever. And her thing was, based on this conversation, are you really ready to love? I don't know if you in a space because you making comments like that. P.O. is too much.
Yeah, he was a lot.
P.O. is a lot, right? P.O. is he's telling corny jokes. He's very outspoken, and people are not getting him. Right? It seemed like there's been a theme of this Ready to Love. Not this one, but in past Ready to Love. For the last 3, that they had that one guy. Right? I think the other guy was Troy, the Kissing Bandit. We had Corey, the copy and paste. And now we got P.O. Right? I think they're putting one person like that on every show, every season. And it's not going to work out well for him. I don't see him being around for long. And we don't want to get to that, but I don't see him being around for long.
Yeah. And then we see Precious talking to the other person I forgot to mention, who is Tori.
Yeah.
And Tori's 39. He's a realtor. He's got them locks, fresh twist.
Well,
got a little touch up, came with his style. I was like, okay, go ahead, Tori. And so as they're chatting, they're talking about the drink that they're drinking. And he was like, what's the name of this drink again? And she said Romeo and Juliet. So they have a whole conversation about Romeo and Juliet and how the roles that families play in a relationship. And she was like, I can't really get with that kind of the issues that they had in Romeo and Juliet, that family trying to keep them apart, and their issues spill into the relationship. But they talk about that, and they go into like what is their family dynamic.
Yeah.
And he said he doesn't have a good relationship with his mom. He said she really didn't give him affection the first time she said I love you to him was like 4 or 5 years ago. But he explained that he was raised by his grandparents. His mom was in the military, and she pretty much lived overseas.
Yeah, he was gone. She was in Iraq, different places. And what he mentioned was, and being a military child, I understand. But if you're a military child and you have a single parent, it is that much more difficult because your parent is deployed. You don't have the other person that's there. And so, again, they get accustomed to you not being there. Mm-hmm. They get accustomed to you not being a representation of them. Mm-hmm. And so you live with grandma and all that. You have a mother, but again, I can understand from being from a military family how, it's hard for parents to gravitate to a child. And we didn't get the whole backstory or dynamics. You don't know if she left if she was in the military when he was young, all that. But we just know that he's missing that affection from his mom, and he needs that affection. Right,
but because what he said was it's caused him that he doesn't really like people that are overly affectionate because he didn't get that. He kind of draws back, so that's something that he kind of has to come out of. But Precious shared that her mom hasn't been there in her life. They've been estranged for over 15 to 20 years.
Right.
And she was raised by her aunt, who was a very strong woman. And so because of her relationship with her mom, she was like, I don't know if I want kids. I do want kids, but I'm guarded. So it's like, almost like I don't know how to be a mother because I didn't have my natural mother. And I don't want to also treat my kids kind of like what I learned.
She wants to be different.
Yeah, Tori and Precious, Tori was like, I felt like it was a vibe. We was really vibing.
I think Precious says it later on when she was talking to Tommy or someone else that she said she was really feeling Tori.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said she felt like it was a healing process for both of them. So she was really liking that. So then Tommy comes back to talk to the ladies. Ask the ladies who you feeling. And all the ladies are feeling Demetrius, tall, dark, handsome, nice beard, moisturized and everything. They're feeling Clifton they're feeling Barry White teddy bear.
Barry White teddy bear. They want the big dude tattoo on his arm.
Yeah.
6'4", looking like a offensive lineman.
And even though he's younger, they like Wiley.
Yeah.
They like Wiley. And, of course, they like Tori. And they like Laverne.
Laverne.
Laverne. Who they're not having a connection with? Fernando. Yeah. Mr. Interview. And the parole officer. They're not feeling P.O. to Mr. Paul.
They're not feeling Paul. They're not feeling Paul and Fernando.
And so Tommy gets them all back together and let them know, that one man is being eliminated, and it's Fernando.
It's Fernando.
And he said, I was trying to connect with the ladies, I'm not necessarily all that, open or whatever. So he said, obviously he didn't make strong enough bonds with them.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think we saw that a couple seasons ago too. Christian, I believe, it wasn't open in that area. But when we come to find out, Christian knew everybody, right? He still knows everybody.
Right.
And I think
just a slow starter.
And I think that's what Fernando was. Fernando was a slow starter. I think he wasn't able to get around the room and deal with everyone that's there. So Fernando, he said it. I am ready to love. I'm still gonna try to find and look for love. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't here.
Right. All right, and so at that point, of course, Tommy tells them to mix and mingle some more. Yeah. Get to know everybody a little bit better. So we see Ace and Wiley having a little chat. Mm-hmm. We see Joy talking to Clifton. She's liking him a lot. They're doing a lot of flirting. And
right, because he drinks out of her glass. And,
well, yeah, that's after they, you know, and so he asked her, you enjoying spending time with me? Yeah. He was like, so, where would our first date be? And she's like, surprise me. And so he said, well, how about goat yoga? You seen goat yoga? She was like, yeah, but what I've seen is them goats pooping on people. So they got a good chuckle off of that. And, she said, I enjoy flirting with him. And she said, I like the fact that Clifton saw what he wanted and he went after it. And she's drinking her Prosecco. And she was like, oh, you don't have a drink. And she did. She shared her drink with him. And she was like, oh my gosh, my lips been all over that. He said, well, that make it even better.
That make it even better. Look,
Clifton is a flirt.
Yo, they having a lot of flirting back and forth. So it's not mad at them. They look, on visually, they look nice together.
Yes, they do. I thought visually, they looked really cute together.
Visually, they look well together. So we'll see how that pans out with Clifton and Joy.
Yeah, we see Tori and Tiffany talking.
Joy may bring Clifton some joy.
Yeah. You bring me joy. Tori and Tiffany are chatting. And, he asked her, she talks about how she's from Emporia. Right. She shares the fact, same thing we said. It's only, one Walmart there. And it is a super Walmart, ain't it?
Yeah, it's a grocery store. It's a grocery store and clothes and all that.
Yeah, at least. Whew.
Yeah, it's super
Walmart. You can't have just the regular Walmart there. And that's the only place to go. But yeah, so she talks about that, and she says she has 2 sons, and it's like, how do your sons feel about you? You date or whatever. And she was like, they'd be open to somebody, a guy might bring around, right. But she was like, my oldest doesn't want me to get hurt, doesn't want to hurt. And so he's like, well, has he seen you hurt before? And she was like, yeah, he has. And so he just doesn't want to see my mom hurt. And her thing is, because of the experience that she's been through, she was like, I don't want to be too impulsive, getting into something, because maybe that's been her problem before. And, they talk about what's your type or whatever. She's like, I don't really have any particular type, But basically, I kind of like who's interested in me.
But I like that because, when you're involving your children in the process. And so we talked about that when we had an interview with Aisha. She made sure her children was cool with her being on the show. And I think when you are a parent and you're going on a show like this and your kids are at that age or they're old enough, they should have some type of say-so, or you should allow them to voice their concern or their opinions about their mother or their father going on a show to try to find love. Because again, their friends may watch this, their friends' mama may watch this. Ain't that so and so from down the street? And now you have to deal with some of the issues there. But I think it's good for her to be able to know, for her son not to want her to be hurt, which gives her an insight to keep my eyes open and know what to look for.
Right. So Tori said he had a nice conversation with her, but it's like, it's kind of friend zoney with them. So then we see Laverne talking to Sabrina. And she's like, where are you from? And he was like, I'm from Gary, Indiana. But you know about Gary, Indiana, right? And she was like,
No. How many of y'all don't know about Gary, Indiana?
I mean, this is the same weekend that the Janet Jackson documentary came on. So if y'all saw that, you should know, if you didn't know before, about Gary. The Jackson 5 are from Gary, Indiana. Who doesn't know that?
Right.
She's old enough to know. She don't know about it, but he's like, oh wow. And so while Laverne and Sabrina are talking, Precious slides on in there. It's like, let me have a minute. Can I, talk to Laverne? And it was like she was kind of gonna, walk off with him, but her and Sabrina switched seats, and I'm like, I don't think I would have did that.
Like, nah, boo. I was waiting for somebody to say no.
You would have had to take him away.
Because it happens again. If somebody was said no, it's like, no.
Right.
It's okay to say no. No's a complete sentence.
And the one thing that Laverne said was, I didn't want to be like the cool guy sitting in the corner and having everybody coming to me, but it ended up being like that. And so he was like, I'll roll with it. That's what happened. Right. So because Precious remembered, she said it. You're from Gary, Indiana. I know what Gary, Indiana is. And I remember you saying that you're a bodybuilder. And I want to see, can you help me get in this bikini or whatever? And he was like, oh, okay.
She wanted to get in this bikini competition. And she wanted to get and make sure that he would help. He said, I'll owe you down, but will you down?
Right. But she said she liked the confidence that he exudes. And as they're having a little conversation, then Keena slides in on Precious. And again, we're do-si-doing on the seats like,
And you're not done with your conversation. If you're not done interacting, can
you come back and talk to him in a little bit? Because I'm not done talking.
We're not done talking. We're not done with this conversation.
Just that easy, not to be rude. But yeah, and so Keena slid in there, and the thing that Precious said was, the thing that I like about Laverne is the same thing that irritated me in this moment. It's like, I like how social he is, but the fact that he's so social, it was like people could interrupt the flow. Like, he's talking to everybody.
He's talking to everybody. But again, you blame them, but no one else that stopped. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nobody else said, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Or, I'm having a conversation here. Or, that's my thing.
I would have. And so Keena was like, oh, I'm sitting in Laverne's den. And he was like, okay, I like that. Yeah, you could call it that's Laverne's den. But anyway, we see P.O. talking to Sabrina. And, he says, I'm P.O., the post office. I deliver, I'm the main event, I was like, he's just corny to me. Like, for him to be so... And I don't mean this in a way. He's 48. Like, for you to be 48, it's just like, them lines is so old.
But he living in the moment. That's what he knows. What he knows.
I almost feel like, did he have a PO? And maybe he been locked down and he don't know the new way.
He may not know the new way.
I don't know. So again, we see Sabrina and P.O. talking, and we see Tiffany and Wiley chatting some more, and then we see Clifton and Dakia chatting, and they're talking about what's your 5-year plan, where you see yourself at, and both of them were like, I see myself on the water, in a beach, or island hopping. I see us somewhere, and so then we see Keena slide in on them, and Dakia was kind of like, what the heck. I know how this is set up, but like, you interrupted my conversation.
But we find out that Keena just slid in because she was tired.
She said, I was really just tired. I had a headache and wanted to know if somebody had an Advil. But I'm going to tell you how perceptive Clifton is. Clifton said it. He was like, I think Keena's just tired, or whatever. They asked her, what's your 5-year plan? She was like, well, I could see myself, moving to Houston or Atlanta. And they was like, so just in the country, not outside the country? Because, like, we was talking about, islands, water. And she was like, and that's what Clifton was like, yeah, she just don't feel good. I'm getting it. So anyway, Tommy comes back and talks to the fellas. Okay, who y'all making connections with? And they said Sabrina. They said Precious. They said Dakia. And they said Joy. And who you have, like, no connections with. And so Keena's name was out there. People like, I'm just not getting a romantic vibe from her. It's not really. Ace seems like she's got kind of low energy. Right,
Tiffany name was out there.
Yeah, they said Tiffany, but it was because she seemed, what she probably is, guarded. Couldn't really get into any deep conversations. And so they all meet back up and they let them know, it's 2 women in the bottom. And it's between Tiffany and Keena, and one of the ladies going to be eliminated. And the person that got eliminated is Keena.
Keena went home.
And so Keena says, I have to acknowledge, I'm pretty guarded. I probably came off nonchalant. I'm sure they, picked that up or whatever. But, I know what not to do.
And you guys on the internet are cool because y'all giving that girl a hard time about her dress. and about the, matter of fact, not just her, but the fashion from the women on this episode. You guys are wrong. You're wrong. I'll just leave it right there.
Anyway, so Tommy says, it going forward in this process, I want to encourage you all to be to open up and be vulnerable. Curveballs gonna be thrown, so be prepared. And when we introduce newcomers, you're gonna meet them on a blind date.
Yes.
So that's so not only is it a curveball that we introducing new people and we just eliminated people, which I still never understood the point of that. Especially off the top, like you're eliminating them the first day just to put some other people in their spot.
At least wait midway through.
The next week or whatever.
But I guess you want to give the person midway through a chance to interact and be there. Yeah. But on this episode, on this season really doesn't make any sense because you went from 10 to 7, right? Got eliminated 2, now you're 6, now you bring 2 more back, which makes 7, and then send somebody else home. You should have just started with 8. I mean, just start with 8. The surprise is gone when you throw somebody else in there. Yeah. Start with 8. But,
so we got introduced to our singles. the Ready to Love participants. So
yeah.
I can't really form an opinion right now. The only one I can say is I really liked Joy and Clifton's interaction.
Yeah. I think the interaction is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That Joy and Clifton is okay.
Yeah. So we shall see.
We shall see
This Potomac.
What we got
right on the heels of DC.
Right. Is this a little bit different? Right. I mean, think about when Ready to Love is different. We don't have to wait a long season gap. You got this one coming up. They went to almost kind of the same type of area they were in previously. And so we'll see how.
And we've seen them do this before. They had 2 Houston casts. So.
Houston cast, but that Houston cast was different because one was on a resort and one was actually in Houston. So it's kind of, different variables. Same area geographically, but different shows. This time you guys came same geographical area, and they're doing the same type of thing. So we'll see. Let us know who you thought that you liked on this episode of Ready to Love. What man did you like? Which woman did you like? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Also, check out some of our interviews from the last season's cast. We had an interview with Aisha and Tasia. We have some more coming up here next week, so make sure you check those out. Thank you once again. Hit the subscribe button and bell notification, and we'll catch you down the road.
Bye.
Bye.